All right, we are live. Hey, all. Appreciate you stopping by for another one of our webinars hosted by myself, Jake Audette, and Dr. Joel Parker, along with his son, Ben Parker, as well. I know we have one person in the audience. We just wanted to get started a little bit early, kind of introduce ourselves, and if you want to feel free to speak and turn on your webcam. I know we want to make this as interactive as possible. I know Dr. Joel likes to keep it light and kind of free form. So, the more people communicating, the better. But again, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and explain a little bit about who I am and then just kind of some housekeeping notes to keep aware of. But my name is Jake Audette. I work with a company called DVM Consulting and Recruiting. We specialize mainly in helping private practices find veterinary doctors. While searching for doctors, not only do we provide that service, but we'll also provide a benefit of if you're looking for a vet tech or upfront office staff, we'll help you find those as well. But our main, bread and butter, what we're mainly searching for is private veterinary doctors.
And Jake,
We have another.
I would just hold off a little bit, maybe another 5-10 minutes till we get a few more people on. You can see they're all kind of starting to trickle in now. So let's just wait a few minutes. I don't know what your time's like. I'm good on time for, we can go over tonight too if we need to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome in.
And it looks like it automatically mutes everybody when they come in. So
well, I've got it turned on. I've got the
Yeah, there's Stephanie in. Everybody's coming in. They're all muted. Yeah, let's just wait a couple minutes because it sounded good what you're saying, but we need to get a few more people.
Hey guys, if you want to, chat a little bit, you're more than welcome to turn your mics on, turn your cameras on. We want to make this as free-form as possible. What do you like to call it, Dr. Parker? Late night?
I call it like late night 2 a.m. Texas talk show radio.
That's
Right?
Kind of
like talking over the fence. Hi, caller. Where are you from? What's your question?
Yeah. Welcome in. Good to see you. Let me just make sure what our controls look like here.
Yeah, you'll have host controls, won't you? Or organized controls. Yeah. So you got your mic live. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. Where are you from?
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Love it. Yeah. Do you own a practice down there? Talk to me about your current setup.
So I do own a practice. I just bought a practice about a year ago. I'm a solo doctor, and I've been out of vet school for 6 years, but I'm an older person. I went back to vet school at a later age. So I'm actually an accountant by trade.
That's super cool. So accountant. And
I'm an accountant.
That's awesome. That's amazing. So
I can do my own books and set everything up, right?
Seriously, you're ahead of the game. We don't have to teach you about how to use QuickBooks or something. That's brilliant. How's the practice doing?
So my practice is actually what happened was I bought a practice where the owner of that practice had been in business for like 30 something years or whatever. He had a very good practice, but he sold to corporate and took his clients with him. So a year ago, we started like fresh, not one client, except friends and family. And to be very honest with you, after only a year and a few months being open, we're doing very well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you seeing any white space on your appointment books?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing good for, being open for such a short time. But yes, we have days where there's none, and then we have days where we're like, what the heck is going on? And that's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And at the end of this too, You sound like a friendly person. If you want to have a meeting with me, I'm going to give you a link. You can book some time. We'll chat more kind of private one-on-one. And because every practice is a little bit different, but practices are actually almost kind of like dogs and cats and human mammalian bodies. They've got systems. They're all different, but they're all the same, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That'd be awesome. So who else we got? Who and feel free to put your camera on. You know, like I said, like Jake was saying, you know, this is kind of late night radio talk show. You know, rural Texas. Yeah, nice to meet you. Feel free to come off mute, everybody. We'll get started in about another 4 or 5 minutes. Jake, what do you think? There's people streaming in now.
Yeah, sounds perfect to me. Just doing some last minute checks here. Also, it looks like we're all good.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Great.
Where are you from?
Michigan.
Michigan, great state, eh? The oven mitt, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean that with all respect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good. Are you a practice?
I am.
Yep. How long have you had it for?
16 years.
Good for you. Did you do a startup or did you buy it?
No, I bought an existing practice.
Yeah. And you see in white space on your appointment book more than usual.
The last couple of days, absolutely not. I think Monday I had the highest grossing day I've ever had in my entire practice career.
Crazy.
Oh, wow.
But you look at tomorrow and there's openings.
Yep. Okay, good. Are you seeing a little bit more price friction, like people questioning the price of things, a little bit more consideration, maybe stalling things off?
A little bit of that.
Yeah.
I've been trying to increase clients pretty significantly. I have a new grad that just started with me this week. So, for the last probably 6 months or so, I've been trying to get more clients in the door. So hopefully we can absorb her.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting, you know, when you bring on other veterinarians, there is ratios of new clients that you should have in transactions. And that's a lot of the work I do earlier. At the end of this will be a little opportunity. If you want to book some time with me, I'd be more happy you're kind of one-on-one on your practice and give you some insight into that if that would be useful for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on. How are you, sir?
Good, thank you.
Where are you?
Toronto.
Toronto, great, awesome. Blue Jays, go. I don't have my cap on today. You're a baseball fan?
I support all of our teams, but I can't, I can't say I go to a lot of games, but, I obviously support the teams in Toronto.
Yeah. I get accused of being kind of like a fair weather fan. When they're doing good, I'm all for them, Great. Tell me about your practice and what brings you here tonight.
So I have a practice that I've owned for 30 years. I think my challenge right now is I have a veterinarian that's been with me for 8 or 10 years, who is moving to Texas from Toronto. Very nice guy. Supporting him, I think this is great. The only challenge is he is Brazilian Portuguese speaker and has built up a nice little clientele of Portuguese speakers. I have another staff member who speaks Portuguese, a technician. He's another Brazilian vet, but he's not licensed in Canada. Yeah. And so I expect to see some changes because now I'm going to lose my Portuguese speaking vet and I don't have a fully licensed Portuguese vet. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen in my clinic as I lose someone who's built up a nice little clientele of people from his nationality. And so I'm bringing on, I've got good coverage because I have a Ukrainian vet who's just getting licensed in Canada that will sort of transition in and take over. But I don't know if it's unique to my practice, but I have lots of vets from different countries working in different positions and stuff. But when you lose somebody with a very specific niche, where what I'm going to see as he transitions out, even if I can offer somebody still on staff who speaks Portuguese.
Yeah. I think what I know of that culture and many Latino cultures, they're very friendly. So if you can just keep that friendly factor high, they probably, and don't give them a reason to go somewhere else would be, in my mind, just a smart strategy.
Yeah, that part isn't going to be a problem because we have an amazing staff and super friendly, and in a city that's we're a true independent in a city that doesn't have as many independents anymore. So definitely we will do that, and I don't think we're going to lose all of those clients. And as I said, we can still book clients who speak Portuguese. We have a Portuguese speaker, so we can still book them, and we'll offer that as an option and stuff. But we'll have to see how that, because the Brazilians especially are very loyal to the Brazilians, and he's a wonderful young man, built up a nice following for him, and
Well, we're in Vancouver. That's where I am right now. You're in Toronto, and we've got the FIFA World Cup games going on, and boy, do you ever see a lot of loyalty within countries, don't you?
Yeah, well, obviously we've got FIFA going here as well, and same sort of thing and stuff, and that's great. And I mean, what's interesting in our clinic is we can offer clients appointments. We have Chinese speakers, we have Spanish speakers, we have um, Russian speakers, we have Ukrainian speakers, we have French speakers. We can offer appointments in very, very multilingual in our clinic, which is great. So,
yeah, I think that's great.
But we'll just have to see how challenges come, and
yeah, it's all part of the challenges, and and then you've got a Ukrainian person coming on, and I know the strategy here that hiring foreign grads, they're available, they've got their licensing exams to do, and one of the issues is that they are, very business minded, and that they can go off and start their own practice. So there's risks in everything we do. It's kind of like every solution, there's risks, right? Yeah.
Well,
welcome.
I hire for good people, quality people, try and support people. And, the risk is if you hire any really good people, the risk is you could lose them. But then the idea is to pay them well, make them part of a family, and hopefully,
And I'm even getting questions about, profit sharing and, partnerships in the company. And I heard this new word the other day called phantom shares, which is you give very, very good employees shares in the company, but they're phantom shares. They only get triggered in value if you sell the business, and then they would get a portion of it. So they're not voting shares. And I thought this is kind of some of the strategies we're looking at for keeping good people. That's something for you to think about.
Yeah.
Great. Well, welcome. And how are you, sir? Or ma'am? I don't know whether you're here.
Hi.
Hey.
Yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
I can. How are you?
You can call. Hi. I'm just a solo mobile vet in the New York area. So I'm just chiming in here and listening to all the great thoughts you guys have.
Excellent. Well, welcome. And I've done a lot of work with mobile vets, and they have a very unique style, and they have like with all practices, whether you're bricks and mortar or mobile, they have issues of profitability and pricing and things like that. So, by the way, I'll say it here before we get started. I'm going to pass over to Jake here in a moment. There will be an offer at the end of this for all of you to book some time with me. If you like the style of this kind of encounter, we can book some one-on-ones. I'm a consultant out there looking for nice people to work with. It's very similar to a veterinary practice. So if that would be of use to you, we can certainly meet about your mobile practice and kind of go over some of the more issues that you're running into. But welcome.
Sure. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. And how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Yeah. Tell me about your practice.
We are a women-owned small veterinary practice. We have 3 doctors, in Weston Chapel, Florida. We just try to do our best, give our best, and be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah, excellent. I know, and we're going to talk about here today, we're going to get started in just a few minutes here about strategies for increasing your resiliency in this kind of tough economic climate that we're in. So I'm glad you're here today, and hopefully you get some out of this. Again, opportunity for all of you to meet afterwards. I'm going to pass over to Jake Audette, our host here today, to talk to you a little bit about his company, and then we shall get started. Jake, over to you.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us again. You're always welcome, and I really do appreciate the continued support with these little webinars that we do. Just trying to kind of grow more and more online as much as we can, and get good information out there to good vets, good vet techs, people that work in the veterinarian industry. All are welcome to our webinar. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate Dr. Parker for joining me in this. He's always been a good host and a good time, easy person to talk to, and fun to listen to as well. So very personable. Just a couple quick housekeeping rules, or not rules, I shouldn't say rules, but just housekeeping notes that I'll put out there. As soon as the webinar ends, what I'll do, it takes me usually a couple days because I've got to do some editing, taking people's names out and things like that, because I do post these webinars online, but I make it anonymous, so anybody's name that is said during the webinar or anything like that, I take out. So you don't have to worry about that. I will also send you guys the link to the video as well, so that you can have it for a later date if you want to go back and listen to the information that Dr. Parker presents. So I'll just send you a follow-up email in a couple days, probably next week, Monday, Tuesday, when the video is ready and fully edited and good to go. With that being said, I'll just go into a little bit about myself, and I'll have Dr. Parker take it away after that. Again, my name is Jake Audette. I work with a company called DVM Consulting and Recruiting Services. Basically, what we do is help small private practices in the U.S. And I do believe we work with one practice in Canada. I have to double check on that, but we are trying to branch out further outside the U.S. and hopefully in the future help other small private practices around the world. But our main bread and butter right now is private practices in the U.S. And what we do is help them find veterinary doctors, whether that's they're looking for new grads or veterinarians with plenty of experience under their belt. And the way we go about that is a little bit different. Our interview process is a little bit more, I don't want to say strenuous. Strenuous is the wrong word, but that's the word that's coming to mind. We not only are we looking at veterinarians' backgrounds, so their professional experience, but we're also taking a deep dive into the practice and looking at the practice, figuring out what your atmosphere is like in there, what your clinic personality is like in there, looking at the different people and seeing how those personalities mesh together and trying to match a veterinarian that's going to integrate smoothly into that already established atmosphere inside the clinic. Because not only do we want to give you a good vet, but we want that vet to last a long time with you. And we want you to enjoy having that vet on staff, to add to the benefits that you already provide within your clinic. So, in a nutshell, from a high-level view, that's mainly what we do. We also will assist in finding vet techs and other staff members within the clinic as we're looking for veterinarians. But our main point or our main subject are veterinarian doctors. So that's just a little bit about us. We're a small private business, privately owned business. We're about 20 strong. We have about 8 recruiters on staff, and our recruiters don't work with 20 different clients at one time. We try to keep everybody's plate realistic because we want to be able to provide you guys with enough focus that you're getting value out of our services. So with that being said, that's all I really have to say for myself right now. I'm going to let Dr. Parker take it away from there and go through his information that he's got for you guys tonight.
Great. Thanks, Jake.
Yes,
so
sir.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming tonight. My business is called the Standing Ovation Practice. Here, let me get the next slide here. Does that look okay? Did it change for you, Jake? Awesome. Good.
Yep, you're good. You're good.
I was in private practice from 86 to 01. Actually, I'm an 84 grad, but I bought a practice 2 years out, went from 84 to 01, became an independent consultant from 01 to 2006. I'm a Hubbard College of Administration licensed consultant, industry speaker, Vet Partners member. Vet Partners is a industry background group full of consultants and CPAs and lawyers and practice evaluators. So I hang out with these guys so I can get a good pulse of what's going on in the industry and help pass it on to you, private practice owners. I only work in the vertical private independently owned practices. I do not work with corporates. And this is something that I'm very, very proud of to, offer some really kind of, SWAT team type tactics to you in private ownership so that you can not only survive, but thrive. The last 24 to 36 months have been very interesting. We've seen declining transactions of people coming in, and we've seen veterinarians offset this with fee increases because we've got something called petflation, petflation is the rising costs of your materials and equipment and shipping costs and the rising costs of staff wages, staff pressures from really corporate wages coming in, offering, really, really high wages and benefits. And on top of this, kind of creeping in uncertainty about the future. So today, what I want to go over is what practices are experiencing, why client behavior is changing, key risks in moving forward, practice resilience strategies to make sure that you not only survive but thrive, opportunities for the independents, and at the end of this, I've got a complimentary business health check, kind of a thriving factor check for you and your business. Are you prepared for what's happening now and ahead? We still have very major advantages. We're very agile. We have a lot of focus on culture, and we build trust and great client relationships. Many of us are very deeply, rooted in our community and, the schools and all sorts of things like that. We also have got a lot of medical autonomy that a lot of the corporates don't have. And above all, we have adaptability, and that is our key factor. Sometimes we don't like to adapt, but if you embrace it and you follow some of the things I'll go over today, you will improve your practice. What's the industry experiencing? Hey, by the way, Jake, how's the pace, everybody? So far, so good.
You sound good.
Right, and everybody, you do have little chat boxes there that you can put a question in. Again, I really like these, and Jake likes them too, that we're interacting with you as attendees, so it's a little bit like, again, 2 a.m. late night Texas country talk show style, so we kind of can, and I can stop and check in with you guys. But let's carry on here. The industry feels different right now. We're seeing people with softer appointment books, like blank space that shows, and then some days we'll have space you were mentioning where bam, you have a busiest day ever, things like that. It's almost like the Wild West. It's a rodeo where you'll get this blank space. We're getting more no-shows, and all of a sudden people flood in. We're getting increased estimate sensitivity, so we have to maintain that transparency, but be ready for sensitivity and delayed decisions. Some markets, I'm finding, one of the key things I track is what is the median household income in your area. This is an important factor because you'll find that on, the median household income in communities can be $40,000 a year, it can be $80,000 a year, it can be $120,000, it can be $200,000 a year. And what I'm finding is that communities with median household incomes kind of 80 to 90,000 and down are starting to find fewer clients coming in. We're seeing increased online pricing complaints and client financial stress. We'll get into that a little bit here too. Now, what's interesting is if we keep increasing our prices, we can hide underlying weaknesses, right? So the revenue may appear stable, and in fact, the revenue's been climbing in the last 18 to 24 months, but the transactions have been declining. We're seeing average client transactions increasing, and I think that's due to fee increases. So Jake, what I used to work on, 20 years ago, 10 years ago, was getting practice owners to get their fees set correctly and do a quarterly increase. In many practices, that's happening now and has been going on, but there's been these transactions declining. Fewer client visits, lower compliance, what we called margin compression, meaning your profitability, your margin of profitability. We've got increasing, fee costs going up. The fees are going up a bit, but there's that compression of that profitability.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And why might this be happening? Post-COVID normalization. Like, wow, COVID was a rocket ride. People staying home, shelters being emptied out of dogs and cats. People flooding into veterinarians. People saying, "I'm not taking any more new clients. I'm only doing curbside." If there ever was a time to start a veterinary practice, it was in that COVID lockdown year.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's normalized now to the point that we've got people, going back to work, they're taking dogs and cats back to the shelters. We've got inflation that's kicking in, consumer fatigue, emotional financial pressure, and this big changing discretionary spending. Okay. Increased competition, rising pricing, and corporate consolidation effects. So enter in what I find is a very interesting metric to track is something called the Michigan Client Sentiment Index or the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index. And this is an index that is across all 52 states. I don't think it covers Canada. It is across, the countries are very similar and locked in together on many things. But what this index does is look across the 52 states, and it's a subjective index on how confident are clients in how do they feel about their financial future and how confident are they in spending money. And for example, in 1966, end of the Vietnam War, the consumer sentiment index was 100. In 08, 09, in those recessionary periods, it was down to about 64. And when you get dropping consumer confidence, we have dropping discretionary spending, and we see, whereas you might have pet costs up in the same category as food, clothing, and sheltering, that's now maybe dropping down a little bit. We're seeing veterinary compliance drop often. So here, for example, everybody is a picture of this chart. I've only got it kind of back to the 1980s, but I know by researching it, it started, I think, in 66. But you can see it goes up and down. And look here, early 2000s, it was 110. This is just before the .com boom bust. And then look here at 08 and 09 down in those areas there. That was the lowest at 64. April hit 49.8 and May just hit the lowest in the history of this chart at 44.8. So we've got, this is just background in, kind of insight for everybody. This doesn't mean you should lock your doors and go home. No, this means that people are just, more concerned about money than they've been before. There's less discretionary income, which means we have to be agile, be willing to pivot, be willing to do some work with clients to remove friction on coming in, payment kind of programs, things like that. How are we doing so far, everybody? Anybody questions? I know Zoom has a little thumbs up you can give. Do we have thumbs up here on Teams?
Yeah, we have react buttons up top.
Yeah, so
control bar.
Yeah, give me a little thumbs up, or we can even open this up right now. Great, thank you so much, Paul. I can't see everybody on there. Let's see, maximize meeting window. Maybe that's going to show like that. Yeah, there we go. That's a maximized window meeting. Okay, now how do I take this down? Great. Talking sense to you?
Yes, it's very. I'm here. I'm listening.
Yeah, okay, good. It's just interesting stuff. And, if you look at it, that, I know earlier on, Ben Parker was confirming with a guest who'd been in practice for 40 years. I don't know if he's on or not, Ben, but that's a gentleman that's gone through, the recessions of the 1980s. He's gone through the .com stock boom bust in the early 2000s. He's gone through the recession of 08 and 09. And here we are right now in this low period of consumer confidence, another recession around the corner, if not right now. Let's call it how it is. And so we can ride these things out. There's no question about that. We will ride them out.
So
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so looking at the graph that you have up,
Yeah.
I mean, it's obviously it's up and down, up and down. We're at the lowest point, so I would think the future we're going to start going back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is going back up. Actually, I just checked and June is up, I think, into 48 again. It's kind of going up to where April was. So you're right. We're at the low here. And if we can survive this, we're probably going to survive. But let's do more than survive, right? We don't know where it's going to go. Good. Any other questions, Ament?
No, I think the information's good.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So this is the one to track. And I honestly think that, all the strategies that I'm going to talk about here in a little bit, once the sentiment index goes up, then we can relax maybe on some of those strategies. But once you've got them in, you may decide not to. Why not just keep them in, right? Consumer psychology is changing. People more cautious, selective, value conscious. And this is across the board. This is just as in veterinary medicine. I think in dentistry and things like that, people are looking now that, do I need to get that dental work done? Do I need that new car? So down here, we've got delay of patient dentals, watching and waiting, asking for more estimates, more financing questions. And I know this little financing company in the US called called Cherry has hit the market with a bang. And I've got numerous clients that have actually increased their compliance by offering Cherry. I don't know if any of you offer that in your practice, but it's a unique, it's kind of right up there with Care Credit, but they seem to be not quite as stringent as Care Credit. Many of us are saying, are they going to last a year? But they seem to be they seem to be across many different industries than just veterinary medicine. Sentiment matters. There's a lot of transparency now. If somebody's not happy with their practice, they're going to post on it. If they're super happy, wonderful caring staff, they're going to post it. Waiting room was chaotic. There's a lot more kind of transparency. Vets are getting expensive. I was shocked by the estimate, things like that. So these perceptions matter. Somebody checking out your practice will look at that and decide whether to come in or not. I use it for restaurant reviews. I remember one time I was booked to take our son for his 29th birthday to a recently Michelin starred restaurant. And I read some of the reviews and I kind of went, no, I'm not going to go there. And I went somewhere else to tried and true. So, all of us are using these. Perception matters. There's transparency like never before. Trust matters, and of course, in handling these, avoiding defending or attacking the profession. So what happens during economic tightening? Clients start to prioritize essentials, more cautious spending, friction becomes more costly, emotional trust becomes critical, practices need more operational discipline, and enter in, everybody, the resilient practice playbook. Anybody seeing these things happening here? Clients prioritizing? Any comments from anybody on this? Live, what are you seeing in your practice in Toronto?
We're definitely seeing fewer visits this year than we were. I think clients are being a little more conservative, and prioritizing, I think, is probably realistic.
Right. Yeah, and I'm going to talk to in the next section when we talk about points of increasing your resiliency. A lot of this is just stepping up your game. The market has changed, but there are things I'm going to go over with you all that you can step up your game. And this is a lot of the work I do in consulting people is helping you change your muscle memory of your basketball team, of your soccer team on the field. Like every team has got a muscle memory. We've always got a Diane that shows up late, or we've got a David that doesn't show up. Every practice has got those, right? But how do we work around that and change that kind of operating basis of that team so we can start to capture more clients, more new clients, and things like that, and run a tighter ship? That's what I want to talk to you guys about today. There's always some things that can be done. I know it was true with my practice. I bought my practice right in the middle of the recession when interest rates were a whopping 16%. But being a veterinarian, I said, I don't care. I'm buying a practice, right? We're all like that. Jake, you were going to say something?
No, I was just laughing. I was laughing.
Yeah. Yeah, 16%, like, wow. And so I hear people complaining about 4%, can't we do a little better than that? And you kind of go, oh, buddy, it was pretty wild. Anyways,
I'm complaining right now about buying a house at 7%.
Yeah, and what are they offering you?
7%. I think, well, probably more. I think it was like, it's between 7 and 9% is what I'm seeing
Yeah. So it's
down in
getting up
Atlanta.
there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is all the stuff that happens during economic tightening. So the resilient practice playbook. Let's start talking about things you can do. The number one is with yourselves, and I've been through this too, guys. I've been guilty of doom scrolling. Going through YouTube videos on the Gulf crisis, and watching CNN and all this kind of that's what doom scrolling is. It's just going from negative thing to negative thing. The key thing on this is note that practices have gone through tough economic times before. I think we're going to see corporate practices really feel it. They can't pivot as fast as we can. And the trick here is to stay calm, avoid the doom scrolling that will bring a negative down pressure on your own mood and viewpoint, at which then your teams absorb that energy. So if the appointment book is looking a little empty, and you've got the feeling that, hey, this is because there's a recession, there's nothing we can do about it, then they'll pick up on that. Well, when there is always things you can do about it. And I know this. Getting your team active really helps with their mood. Focus on your controllables, right? Maintain optimism and realism. Okay, super, super important. Number two, become radically client-centric. I know there's been a lot of talk that we need to all take care of our staff, and we do, as any good owner does. We take care of our staff, but our staff also have to give something in return, and that has become radically client-centric. Meaning they're on that phone the minute it rings. Somebody walks in the door, they finish their conversation with their staff member and focus on that client, right? Reduce the friction, make care easier, improve your responsiveness, simplify communication. And there's a lot of cool products on the market to do that. Clients love texting. So I know the Weave phone system that some of you may use, it's got a very robust SMS texting function to it. Those of you that are using CheckVet, that are allowing clients to book their own appointments, super, super good. Be there for them. And I wrote down here, phones answered at 7 a.m. One of the things that if we at the end of this, like I've offered previously, there is an opportunity to meet with me for an hour. My time is yours for an hour, that we get together, and that can lead to a further discussion of your practice and starting to pull data out of your practice PIMS. I like to get about 18 months of monthly data of a number of different metrics. And then also I like to examine the call logs and practices and just see, are we missing calls at 7 a.m.? There's many practices that don't open till 8, and they can, if they are a bedroom community, like a community that commutes in the morning, those people are up earlier, and they may call you earlier than you're open. And you can see practices that are very functional during these tight economic times are on those calls early in the morning. Things like that, removing the friction. Remove friction everywhere when possible. Early drop-offs, late pickups, no appointment necessary blocks. If I was to start a practice today, I would have no appointment necessary. Just open it up, bring it in. And I remember, probably 10, 15 years ago, working with a very highly profitable, successful practice in Charleston, South Carolina. They had no appointment necessary. And if you were there by 10 o'clock in the morning, they'd see you before noon. If you were there by 4 in the afternoon, they'd see you before 6. And this was a multiple 5, 6, 7 doctor practice. Now, they did book surgeries and things like that. This is merely an example that anybody could come in, and they mixed high-end clients with low-end clients. Very successful practice, father and son run practice with multiple other doctors. Online booking, and I put here direct. Some of you may have online booking where they fill out a form and then somebody's got to call you back. I highly recommend you look at some of these systems. I think CheckVet's got it, Auto may have it, various software programs have got it, where the client actually accesses your schedule and they book their own time. Text communication with CheckVet and Weave, drop-off forms, offering more pet insurance solutions like Trupanion, PetSecure, PetPlan. In my practice, we were an early adopter of pet insurance. And we were in a fairly high-end area of the country, and we were number 2 in the whole country of using pet insurance. It was PetPlan back in the day, and we just found that when we worked together as a team, the CSR would pass out the pamphlet when they came in. I would talk about it. The veterinarians would talk about it. The CSR would pick it up on client leaving, and we started getting more and more people signed up, and we got really grooved in on using pet insurance. And that allowed us to bring specialized surgeons into the practice and be doing things like, TPLOs and TPOs, triple pelvic osteotomies, things like that we more normally might not do. Digital payment solutions such as Cherry, ScratchPay, Care Credit. Cherry is this one where, in your exam room, you can have like they'll give you a little poster and there's a QR code that your clients go to, and it opens right up on their phone. They type in, they do a soft credit pull, nothing is going to show up on their report, on their score. And then they fund a lot of programs for people if you've got people that are financially tight. I've got AI enhanced reception. I'm not a big fan of AI bots and so forth. I personally find them irritating, but I think they're going to get better and better. And if you don't have staff that will answer the phones on 7 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning, or let's say that you're a small practice and you need to close for lunch or whatever, then make sure you start using a solution like that. Otherwise, you can be losing calls. I've run into numerous practices of late that don't have a marketing problem. They have a staffing problem in terms of answering the calls coming in. It's amazing. And that's where these, great phone systems like Weave, Mango, Pet Desk, and so forth can allow me to access the phone logs and start to determine where the points of friction are. Another point of friction is I ran into a practice the other day that had they just did it for years. It was some old paradigm that they said, yeah, we only take one new client a day. And what that meant is that new clients were being pushed out a week out, and some of them would say, I have to find somebody before then. So some of these things are simple organizational solutions to look at, and you actually need to put that on there. Opening up the flows of your practice, removing these points of friction, creating what I like to call a friction-free practice. Not only fear-free, but friction-free. Everybody good on that? You guys tracking with me so far? Give me a thumbs up, guys. Right? Help the speaker out. So sometimes these webinars, if nobody talks to you, it's like, you're playing in a band to an empty concert hall or something.
Things in the chat as well.
Oh, we do. What have we got there, Ben?
Yeah, let me pull it up here. So we have first from just saying, I think things are very similar to before COVID. We just got used to being so busy we couldn't think during that time.
Yeah, we're kind of back to pre-COVID times. Yeah, that was a crazy weird blip, wasn't it? Yeah, hopefully not to be seen again.
Fingers crossed. Yeah, and then we also have a few messages from Dr. She is saying, okay, yeah, so she compliment here. I have no idea how to do the thumbs up. What if I could? This is great so far. And then she is also saying, we offer Cherry. People are still hesitant to take on new debt with it, though, at least in our practice.
Yeah, they are. And this is where it comes right down to, good, better, and best medicine. I've talked a lot about that on previous webinars and podcasts and so forth. I think there are times where, do we need to do that CT scan of the dog that's got diarrhea? Well, maybe not, but this is where it comes. If somebody's got for example, a broken leg or a fractured tooth or something that really needs to be done, I think that's where there can be the argument to say, hey, we've got this financing. But I know what you mean. People are reluctant. That's that consumer sentiment index right there. We're cautious. And by the way, on that Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, again, that's a subjective feeling. There are many people that have got lots of money in the bank. They just don't want to spend it. Or like you, probably don't want to take on extra debt. Yeah, so perception is everything, right? And that's what we're dealing with. So friction.
Perfect. And sorry, just one last came in just now from, she's saying, we offer a lot of pay options, but hesitated with Cherry because they seem to only pay the practice after the client has paid them. Is that true / other experience and impressions the same?
Maybe half a dozen clients using it that I'm working actively with, and they actually pay you before you do the work. So my understanding is that the client, goes, they scan the QR code, they enter the detail, they get a thumbs up, they liaison with the veterinarian, and within, I think it's 24 to 48 hours, you've got payment for that dentistry that hasn't even been done. So I think if it was the other way around, that wouldn't work. But I'm 99% sure that you get paid within 24 to 72 hours. I could be wrong on that, but it's very fast, and it's usually before you do the work. So, it's quite good that way.
And she says, thank you.
Oh, great. All right, so removing friction, right? Okay, other one, affordability matters more than ever. Discussion, transparency matters. Make sure that you're giving estimates like they're shown in the picture here. Keep your quotable services affordable. Like I call quotable services are like your front end services, spays, neuters. If you're going to quote prices over the phone, which I don't like, that's another discussion. I like to get people in the exam room for discussion of money, but if you have to, keep them affordable. Avoid at all costs estimate shock. Make sure that you walk people through what the estimate is. Make sure there's no big words on your estimates, so forth. When you get into big medical terminology, that can block the understanding light bulb moment on the client, and they oftentimes will just reject it. Okay. Communicate the value clearly. And I think we are going, from good, better, and best medicine, we're going, we're kind of dropping down into good medicine these days. So that's that spectrum of care. We used to call it, good, better, or best. Nowadays, it's called the spectrum of care. There's been times when I was in practice where people really didn't have money, and I would just downshift. A quick anecdotal story was a cat came in with a huge abscess on his head, and there was a university kid that had like $125 to his name, if that is, he had no other source of income or anything like that. And we took the cat to the back. I got the technician to kind of gently scruff him and tap him between the eyes. I took a number 11 scalpel blade and lanced this big painful abscess. The cat was so relieved, pulled a Penrose drain through it, tied it up, and sent him out the door on some amoxicillin suspension. Now, was that state-of-the-art medicine? No, but it was good medicine, and we helped that kid out with his cat. The cat came back, 4 or 5 days later for the drain out and did really, really well. Did that become our go-to standard of abscess lancing? No, but it was an example where we worked with what we had. Pricing strategy versus pricing pressure. You can have your pricing strategy, which, by the way, one of the things that I will go over with you, if we meet after this meeting, is I will go over some pricing strategies with you and the concepts to get you into the Goldilocks zone to make sure that your fees are not too hot, not too cold. Super, super important. Just so everybody knows, there is a Goldilocks zone. There is a Goldilocks zone of fees that are not too hot, not too cold, that are just right, that fit in with the median household income of your zip code, area, or postal code in Canada. Yeah. So what I like to do is avoid discounting, on a reactive basis. The client raised an eyebrow, therefore I'm going to discount. And everybody, one of the most important things I do is communication training with staff on the front end of your business to understand the difference between a comment and a objection. So, a comment would be like, it's going to be, $1,400 to get Charlie's teeth cleaned and x-rayed and all that kind of stuff, possible extractions. And the client goes, wow, that's a lot of money. That's a comment. An objection would be, listen, I just don't have it. Can we do this in phases? Are there any other options? Okay, so that's super important. We want to maintain medical standards, but understand what clients are going through. And I like pricing elasticity. Don't hesitate to drop down in, and help people out during these times if they really need it. And get your fee set in this Goldilocks zone of not too hot, not too cold, just right. Everybody knows what that means. Some people don't. The Goldilocks zone comes out of that fairy tale or that children's story about Goldilocks and the three bears, where I think she was asleep upstairs or whatever, and the bears came in, and there were 3 bowls of porridge on the counter, and they ate the one that was just right. Anyways, it's an example. You hear astronomers talk about, planet Earth being in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, of the universe, things like that. Mm-hmm. That's where I'm using that analogy for. So this year, up to now, we've talked about, making sure you get that phone answered on the second ring, bring people in, don't have, no appointment necessary if you need to, strategies like that. So far, up to this point in the webinar, we've talked about, bringing people in, flowing into your practice. Then, in what you're going to charge them, make sure your fees are fair. If you have to downshift, make sure you keep your, good, better, and best, your kind of medical spectrum of care in place. Okay, and be willing to downshift, things like that. But now what I want to talk to you about is a little bit on the back end of watching, for example, your expenditures, your COGS, your cost of goods sold. So this is your Patterson MWI bills. This is your pricing of your surgical materials, things like that. And we want to watch for inventory creep. This is where, if you've got multiple doctors, this is where you can get multiple doctors ordering all different kinds of flea, tickworm, heart medications, antibiotics, sedation, stuff like that. And what we want to do is watch for that creep and try and keep your practice running as simply as possible with minimal inventory overlap of products. Watch out for waste, vendor reviews, pharmacy controls, purchasing discipline. This is where I get into advising you on budgeting for 22% of last week's revenue for your order this coming week. Think about that. So, if you made $20,000 last week, then your inventory order would be $4,400 this week, or it'd be $8,800 if that's 40 or 22. Let's see, 22% of 20,000. Yeah, that's going to be $4,400. I think I got that right. Quick math, right?
Don't ask me. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. And then quarterly price audits. This is where you go back in and you're looking at, did our PIMS, did our practice information software, did it update? Did it handshake with MWI and Patterson and update the cost of things so that I'm not charging, below cost? A funny story was told to me by a Hills rep one time where she went to an old time practice and she looked at the price of their bags of RD, and the older practitioner was charging less than what it cost because he never increased his prices. And then on a somewhat humorous but realistic note, one enterprising staff member decided to have a 2-for-1 sale on a Friday, so they doubled down on their loss. Now, I don't think this happens very often, but it does happen, and that's why I like you to do, your quarterly price audits. Are you charging enough for what's going out the door? The other ones, tighten your inventory management, look for dead inventory, get your reorder discipline in, really look at your expiration tracking. That is just sad that if you've got drugs that expired and nobody watched. I like buying groups a lot. I know that I was part of one called Associated Debt Purchasing. I was a shareholder. We put 98% of our stuff through EVP, and I got a nice dividend check at the end of the year. So you can get pricing on par with corporates, everybody, if you join a buying group. And I highly recommend that you look at that. This one I wanted to have Jake talk to you guys a little bit about finding good staff, but this is a time that we're going into to really focus on who is your team and who is who is accountable, who is dependable, like they show up on time. Who is productive? You want to really protect those high producers. You want to look at your staffing ratios. That's something I can go in with you when we talk after this. We want to look for operational efficiency, sustainable staffing, expenses of income. So you want to look at what your staffing ratios are in relation to how many transactions you're doing, in relation to how many DVMs you've got. There's a whole kind of triangulation in on that sweet Goldilocks zone factor of how many staff you should have. Okay. And I wanted to talk to Jake, kind of what you're seeing for hiring opportunities. Jake, let's kind of pass this over to you while I just water up here a little bit.
Here we go. Yeah. For as far as hiring opportunities go, I mean, there's just so much need for veterinarians, which I'm sure you all have run into. There's just so much need. Not enough vets in the field. Looking for jobs or knowing how to get their names out there into the field, letting people know that they are looking for jobs. And that can come down to many different scenarios. I've heard that class sizes are just not big enough. They're not graduating enough vets every year. to keep up with that pace. Again, like if we were to look back at COVID, I think one of the reasons why so many clinics were obviously hiring back then was because everybody was at home with their pets, and that from I think one vet told me to kind of look at it in this way: people are at home with their vets or their pets, and they started to notice, the different personalities that the pets would bring on, and they would start to notice when the pet was acting weird and when it was acting normal. So they just became very overly observant of their pets and aware of their pets, um, which kind of translates into them bringing their animals into the vet practices more. But just to go back to hiring opportunities, what we're seeing a big focus right now in is whether a vet should go with a private practice or a corporate practice, especially coming out of college. I guess that's the big debate, and what kind of experience you're going to get from each, or what the experience that you'll get out of it. Whether that's um, the fast pacedness of a bigger hospital, seeing more clients throughout the day, and how depending on how many animals they see within an hour or within their 8-hour shift, or 10-hour shift, however long that shift is, versus maybe a smaller, more rural area vet, private vet clinic that might not see as many animals at one time. So there's just a big debate of what you're going to get out of each kind of scenario, or kind of environment when you graduate, or even vets that are in the industry, looking for their next job. Does that answer? I hope I answered the question a little bit.
Yeah, no, that's good, Jake. Any questions for Jake? Anybody on hiring and recruiting? These guys are good, and they work specifically in our vertical owner independent, or our independent owner field. You guys can see, yeah. We're in PSI and VGP. Thank you. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of them out there. I don't know how many of them are shares. Can you purchase shares in those groups? Like, do you get a dividend check from them? Don't believe so. Yeah.
Is VGP, is that the same thing as that's not veg? I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah. Veg is a corporate veterinary group.
Yeah.
Discounts and rebates. Yep. Okay, good. So they give you discounts and rebates. Good. Yep.
I guess I will add to what I was saying a little bit. Also, we've, especially with our clients, which are 99.5% private veterinary practices, we have to tell them that they have to get more creative with their hiring package, or what they're going to offer a vet coming in, because obviously, like somebody like a hospital that's owned by Blue Pearl, or a hospital that's owned by Banfield, they're going to have way more bandwidth and money to offer veterinarians, to attract them in, offering them sign-on bonuses, with whatever if it's a 3-year contract or a 2-year contract, being able to offer them, that it's a big kind of, it attracts a lot of people when they hear big bucks. They're gonna more likely look in that direction. So we have to tell our smaller private practices, look, you have to become creative, whether that's offering different kinds of benefits, or molding a benefits package that caters to each individual vet, so they're not all going to be the same across the board. It's not just one package and everybody has that same package. It's going to be molded to each individual vet. So if you have a veterinarian that's coming into the practice who is married, maybe her husband works for a corporate company somewhere like Dell or Apple, and they might offer health benefits, but they don't offer dental benefits. This is just a scenario I'm making up in my head, but they don't offer dental benefits. Then maybe that's something that you can add to the package for the veterinarian that's coming in are those dental benefits to round out what's covered within their family. Just thinking about those little intricacies and really making it customizable for each individual person, to make it more attractive and to make it easier for them to go with you. And then also, promoting your clinic in a positive way, focusing on that family aspect of the clinic, making it seem not so corporate, and make it way more personable, and I guess easygoing, will attract vets as well.
Great. Thanks, Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. The one thing I didn't really mention on this slide here is that, is accountability and dependability and protect the high performance. We are in times right now, and probably going in times for the next 12 to 18 months, where if somebody wants to show up late and somebody wants to not do what they need to do, then they're going to be let go. We had a practice just this last week that was a person that just kept losing phone calls and would not follow the proper scripts to book appointments. So we finally went, okay, we're done. Like a really good practice should be able to convert 80 to 85% of people reaching in as new clients into an appointment. And this front CSR was doing like 45%. And we tried working with her, and finally we went, okay, we're done. So it is, this team looks good, but if you've got a staff member that you've got your attention on because they're just making too many mistakes, they're creating too much extra work for everybody else, they're not showing up, their attitude sucks, then this is the time that you may have to make that tough decision.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think also, Jake, you and I talked about this earlier. I think that what we're going to find are corporates start to let people off based on they're going to try and cut the staffing expenses. So they're with this distress on the economy, and you're going to find that there can be good veterinarians and techs, for example, that come on the market. We saw that during COVID, that there was a knee-jerk reaction to let people go. So everybody, get ready to hire some good people in the next, year, the next 6 to 12, 18 months, somewhere there. I think there'll be people kicking around. I think we're going to see a change in that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because I feel like they're either going to cut, like you were saying, the brand new people that have just come on. They're going to fire or let go the more expensive vets on staff, or and I guess this goes back to the same thing, the most recent hires, but the people with sign-on bonus contracts.
Yeah.
We'll see those three scenarios probably get chosen first on the chopping block, if it does come to that.
If it does come to that, I think it could come to that, but we'll see. Hey, and finally here, kind of a new profitability reality, and this is what I'd like to kind of open up to a little bit of discussion here. We've typically pushed for a 20% profit. That's for every $100,000 of income, there's $20,000 left over, right? That you would pay taxes on, and this is above and beyond your veterinary salary. If you are a working veterinarian in the practice, then you should be paying yourself production, 22% of your production, stuff like that. And then on top of that, if you're the owner, there can be that extra 20%, even higher. We've had some practices go 23.4% profitability. But I think with things getting super, super tight, I'm now running into clients who are saying, listen, I would rather take a drop in profitability in order to pay my good staff, my accountable, dependable, high performers, some money out of that. So what do you guys think on that? This is almost kind of the new reality. I think in years gone by, people would go, "Nah, I'm going to keep the 20%." But there is kind of my observation, almost a newer, kinder generation of practice owner out there that values their staff. Any thoughts on this? Anybody? Anybody want to go off mute for a second and offer some thoughts?
Hey guys, so I obviously am a sole owner, a solo doctor, so I don't have to pay a vet. on profitability, but I do pay my staff, my technicians, a profit bonus every quarter, and that keeps them cold calling people, trying to get them in the door. Because if they do well and get people in the door, then they get a profit bonus.
And that is so cool that they're actually picking up that is brilliant. And that's what I used to get my staff to do. If we were slow, back in the day, we'd grab files. All the vets would be calling as well. If I had a vet that was below them to pick up the phone and call, they didn't make it. But that is so cool that you got people doing that, and that you are profit sharing. I think one of the key things on profitability too is that you'll find is that when you show a correlation between practice profit and like a nice bonus for staff, they begin to take on that attitude as an owner. They're a lot more engaged, kind of owner centric.
Well, they don't turn appointments away as much as, some staff members might turn appointments away if it gets later in the day and things like that. They don't mind cold calling reminders that, hey, your pet is due for annuals or whatever. They don't mind doing that because they know the more clients they get in the door, the bigger their little quarterly bonus is going to be.
Brilliant. I love it. You're doing some good things there. Hey, so go ahead.
No, I'm just saying they enjoy a higher paycheck, but they're working for their higher paycheck.
But they're working for it. There's some exchange with you, and I think you got a good team there. That's a functional is that they're willing to roll up their sleeves and go shoulder to shoulder with you, stay a little bit late, not do some kind of funny scheduling stuff like book a fake appointment at 5:30 in the afternoon that doesn't show up, like stuff like this that's gone on in some practices. You got a healthy team there. I love that.
I do. Yes, I do.
Hey, so strong practices become more disciplined, tighter operations, better client communications, faster communication, clearer leadership, more upbeat, uptone leadership. So there's a really strong client experience and really smart financial management.
And so Dr. Parker, sorry, before we continue on here, I think she does have her hand raised system here.
Yes, hello. I just wanted to say, so compared to everybody else here, I'm kind of a baby. I'm just opening my own clinic in a few months. Nice. But in the meantime, while I'm going through that whole process, I've been working relief for the last year. And so what I've seen in a lot of different clinics is that the biggest chaos is always in the clinics where there's a lot of turnover of employees. And I feel like, of course, I have no insight into their profit margins, but there's no way that they can keep up profits when they have to train new people all the time. So I was thinking to do exactly what you were suggesting and try to offer the best possible packages to my employees and tailor them so that I can retain employees, that I'll have people that want to work there for pretty much their work life instead of having to retrain new people all the time.
Yeah. Well, one of the key things right there is learning how to train people properly so that you can train them fast and fairly. Because what I found in my first years of practice ownership is that I kept kind of churning through staff because nobody was good enough, but I wasn't really training them properly. Once I learned how to train properly, I could take really good people and enhance that goodness in them. People sometimes say there's no good people to hire. That's just not true. There's a ton of good people to hire out there, but you've got to learn how to bring the goodness out in them. And in exchange for them doing things for you, they then get bonused. I've also run into practices where the staff don't do very much and they get a bonus as well. So it's kind of out exchange. We want that balance. I don't know when you came in, but there's a chance that you and I can talk more about your practice in the next couple of weeks. I'd love to hear more about what you're doing. I do a lot of work with brand new practice people to get them kind of brought up to speed on what they need to be doing on a weekly, monthly basis as owners. So if that's something that would be of use to you, take advantage and just book this time with me at the end of it. Yeah, percentage of income. You're right. There we go. All right, guys. You're welcome. So, the future for independent practices, we can still thrive because we can pivot. We can build trust. We're agile. We can build relationships. We can be involved in our communities. We can create a culture and we can adapt quickly. That's the key thing. Opportunity ahead. Competitors may struggle. Stronger operations can gain, but within your own practice, stronger operations gain share. You can build trust-based practices that really win and increase your resiliency and effectiveness and increase how your practice is thriving. Those are things you can do. Question is, how resilient and efficient is your practice? What's your Thrival Index? I just made that up. What's your TI, right? And this is where I'm going to offer all of you, everybody here, thank you for your time. I hope you found this interesting. I've been in this game a long time now, and I've helped literally thousands of practices. I'm looking for nice people to work with. I do a lot of really just complimentary discussions with people through 40 to 60-minute consultations, at which time I can review your transactional trends. We can look and see if your fees are in that Goldilocks zone, or what's your subjective profitability. To actually analyze profit loss statements, that takes a little bit more work. I do a lot of that as well. Looking at your staffing ratios, new client trends, what are your efficiencies, and more. So for that, everybody, this is me right here. Take a screenshot of that. If anybody would like to book an hour time with me in the next couple of weeks, please give a thumbs up or raise your hand, and Ben Parker here will reach out to you and find a good time to call you back and book that time. Or you can, with your phone, just take it and scan that QR code, and that opens right up into my calendar, and you can find a time to book some time with me. There is absolutely no strings attached, everybody. If you like me, if you like my style and so forth, let's just get together and talk about your practice. My main goal in life now is to help practice owners like yourself not only make some money, but thrive. Have a fulfilling life. Have some money, have some time for your friends and family, your community, your church, whatever you like to do. That's my goal in life right now. If that's something that you would like some help on that, then let's get together and chat. Right. I've got some other things here. Let's see. Can you the resource website for the consumer sentiment information? Just if you go and type in, if you just go and Google Michigan Consumer Sentiment Index, it'll show up the Michigan website on there, and you can check that out. It's very fascinating. And I'll go back here to this slide right here. See, I'm still talking about slides like PowerPoint slides. Okay. Yeah, this is what we'll go over, right? It's basically a discussion of your practice to see how you're doing. And then this oftentimes leads to a second encounter, in which case I send you a Google Sheet to start pulling some data out. Hey, quick question here. Kind of on what PIMs you're using and what phone systems you're using. Anybody using Mango or Weave? Instinct and Weave, good. Yeah, Weave is really, really good. You're welcome. And Cornerstone, the legacy system, right? It's still good. Index Neo, yeah, Neo, yeah, some cloud-based things. Weave is it's a little bit expensive, but that's something that I am using more and more, getting into the back end of it. EasyVet and Pet Desk, yep. Hey, everybody. So just some open discussion. We're just about to kind of wrap up here. How was this? Did you find this useful? Did you get something out of this? Met with Weave. I really liked it. Didn't really have any issues to need to switch. What are you using so what do you use? Oh, you got pet. Yeah, I'm not sure whether or not you'd need to change from Pet Desk to Weave. They can get the same information for you. How are you? Great. How was this for you? Was this helpful?
It was. I think I'm on track to doing, what needs to be done. I just need to get my schedule filled. That's all.
Yeah. Well, that's something you and I can talk about and kind of look and see, is that, do you have a marketing problem, or do you have a problem with the front desk? And I have been really surprised when I start looking into those areas, because you can have a marketing machine that's getting lots of clients calling into you, but they're bouncing off the front desk. They're not making it through. It's that absolutely fascinating in the trench area. Before COVID, we started doing a study where we would mystery call practices. We'd say, "Hi, we're calling. We've got a little Yorkie. We need," like one of my staff had a little Yorkie, and I would get her to call, and we say, "I've got a little Yorkie. We're moving into your area. How much is it going to cost to get her spayed?" And we were appalled at the lack of ability of 80, 90% of the practices. I created a score called 1 to 10, where 10 was incredibly good. We booked the appointment right there. And most practices were a 2 to 3 to 4. So you'd be
I would
surprised.
love for you to call my clinic because I can
Yeah.
guarantee you we should like have a 8, 9, or 10.
Yeah. Yeah, you should have 8, 9, or 10. So listen, why don't you book a time with me? You've got the code here, or Ben will reach out to you. Let's book a time to chat and just see if there's something we can help you out with. And then that might lead into something else more specific. I don't like giving
Okay.
people any idea what it costs to work with it, because I don't really know, what you need. You may have a really super highly functional practice. I don't kind of know until we've looked at the trends of the numbers. Right?
Sure, and I have an advertising budget with which this year I haven't even met. So I may be able to shift that to a consulting issue. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Yeah, repurposing. Everything I like to do, I like to be tangible, that we see you actually getting a return on investment. Yeah. Cool. And well, thanks everybody. Really, really appreciate you being on here tonight. Appreciate the information. Good. Okay, cool. Yeah. Appreciate information. We'll be sharing with business partners. Right. Hope to connect most likely this summer. Yep. We want to do full 2 years. Excellent. Good. When I do an analysis of data, I go for just 18 months. But if you've got 2 years, that's fine too. But 18 months is oftentimes enough to see if there's any kind of like cyclic changes within the year. Some practices are just like straight across. Other practices get really busy in the summer and slow in the winter. Some practices get really busy, slow in the summer and busy in the winter, like if there's snowbird practices in Florida. That was a little bit different this year, just with all the tariffs and the little bit of the unnecessary tiff between Canada and the US. A lot of the snowbirds said, now we're not going to forget it. We're not coming to Florida, right? Yeah.
What do you do with practices that have only been open a year? Is that sufficient?
That's enough data.
Time.
Absolutely. Okay. Yep, that's enough data. We got 12 months. What software are you using?
For my PIMS?
Yeah, from a PIMS.
That's Neo.
You're using Neo. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. And Neo is a good reminder system, and it's okay. It's inexpensive, so that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And I was trying to see what phone system are you using?
Oh, good Lord. I have Cox Cable down here in the South, and it's horrible.
Yeah, you may want to look at Mango, which is a lesser priced weave that's still got some functionality to it, Yeah, anyways, that's something we can chat about.
Thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to we can book some time next week. So you can either book off of this right here, or I can have my associate Ben Parker call you.
Okay, you guys have my info, correct?
We got your info. Yeah.
Okay.
We got your info. We do.
And make sure when you call in that you say you have a Yorkie that has to be seen right away and see what my staff says.
I know. That's pretty funny. That little Yorkie's name was Penny, and she comes over a lot. It's pretty cute. But we were amazed, Sometimes we got met with like, well, how much it was kind of like, buying a hamburger at the meat counter. Well, how much does she weigh? How much a pound? It was like it was like astounding how bad it was.
I'm hopeful that I have a really good staff. So
yeah. Well, most staff do try. There's the odd one that's a little bit of a pill. And I have run into practices where the owner's just not looking at the right things. And, when you look at the conversion of the incoming phone calls, they're not as high as they should be. So this is kind of where these times are going into, is where we start tightening up the game. And, it's kind of like in some ways taking a basketball team and saying, hey, do you guys want to win or not? What do we need to do to win? That's when you start looking at the details.
Sure. We're small enough to where I oversee everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And if
thank you guys.
If we have to get profit loss reports, that's no problem. We'll just get those out easy, right?
That's correct.
That's right.
I know my percentage of cost of goods and know my percentage of payroll and all that good stuff.
Super cool. Yeah. Yeah, well, I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
Jake, thank you
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.